All right, we are talking about this incoming snowstorm that we have. We want to take just a couple of minutes here online and talk with our pal meteorologist Ashley Baylor about what is happening and what we're looking for. So many people, business owners and kids and schools, and we're a little rusty at this. We haven't really had one. A decent-sized snowstorm in a long time now. It's
been a minute. The poor snowblower has just been so lonely, sitting in the shed, getting unused.
Mine too.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the thing. If you have any snowblowers, you need to make sure they're gassed up, that they've been kind of tuned up to make sure that they can work. Because I'll tell you what we're going to be dealing with, Darren, is that heavy, wet, slushy snow that's probably going to clog up some of those snowblowers. So you have to reach in and clean them off. Make sure they're off when you do that, though.
Yeah.
Don't want that to turn tragic really fast. And even when you shovel it, it's the kind like you really break your back trying to shovel.
Better off to do it a couple of times. Let's talk about, before we get to the shoveling part, let's get to what happened. So the numbers overnight changed a little bit. Numbers went up. Shift in the storm. Explain to me what happened there. Why did we go from where we were to what we're now projecting?
Well, and you know, the funny thing is that we still have more computer runs to come out to see it. And that's the problem with these storms. They kind of wobble a little bit because Connecticut is so small. So the slightest shift of 10, 20, 30 miles, it makes a massive difference when it comes to these totals. So if we find out that the center of this low is trending south, well, it's going to actually take that snow line with it. So places like the Berkshires and Litchfield County may not end up with as much snow. There's a lot of factors when it comes to this, but you know, as you can see right now, the entire state under that winter storm warning. Let's take a look at where this storm is actually. It's actually all the way down here to the south, so you can see all this rain from the Carolinas down through Georgia into the panhandle of Florida. So what's going to happen is this storm is going to start to pivot to the north, and it's going to tap into that cold air, and this rain is eventually going to switch over to mostly snow.
And when this starts, so we're talking, you guys are talking about this starting between 3 and 5 a.m. is our last call. A little bit of a mix at the beginning?
Yeah, in some spots it may start off as more of kind of a rain, sleet, wet snowflake mix before it switches over to all snow. But I would say for the majority of us across the state, this is really an all snow event.
Wet, heavy snow.
Slushy snow that's not that much fun to play in. It's not the nice fluffy stuff.
So the totals we're talking about here, you're talking about...
this is where we are now.
Okay, this is what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
go.
Here's a couple of things that we gotta fine tune here, Darren.
Okay.
So the timing we have down, we know it's not starting tonight. It's going to be starting closer to daybreak.
Yep,
so that's where we are there. Let me nudge out of the way here.
Okay.
All right. So the impact is widespread 8 to 12 inches right now. That's where we are. But again, with some of the newest computer runs that come out, we may be tempted to kind of knock those numbers back a little bit.
Okay.
But this is where we are statewide. Okay. In addition to the snow, we're also going to have those wind gusts, 30 to 40 miles per hour, 40 more likely towards the New London area, closer to the center of that low.
So I already got a text from Eversource saying, letting us know after they got in trouble a few years ago that they're watching this storm and watching what's happening. So they're on it. They're talking about the wind and the snow coming in as well.
And then this issue that we're still watching. This is where it's not as easy. You know, people think meteorologists, okay, how much is it? You know, y'all look at the same models. How come you can't come up with the same numbers? Because there are little things our models don't necessarily pick up on. Here's one of them, snow ratios. Have you heard of this before?
Is that how wet it is, or what does that mean?
Basically, typically a snow ratio is about 10 to 1. That means for 10 inches of snow that compacts down to 1 inch of water.
Right, okay.
So when you have temperatures that are more in the low, even mid-30s, you have a lower snow ratio. You get the snow that compacts down. So in this situation, you might be looking at a 7 to 1 ratio or an 8 to 1 ratio. So it compacts down. It's not the fluffy stuff. So that affects those snowfall totals. The other thing, the length of this storm. We've had some long-lived blockbuster snowstorms here. This one, if it starts at 5 a.m., it's kind of done by 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
Okay, that's my next question.
Yeah, it doesn't have as much time to drop a lot of snow. But here's where, for those of you that want more snow, here's where your saving grace could be, is that as we kind of put this into motion for you, you're going to see these darker shades of blue that start to pop up. So we could be looking at snowfall rates that come down 1 to maybe even as high as 3 inches per hour. Okay. So that's when we could really start to see things adding up. But here we are at 5 o'clock. You can see the leading edge of that snow coming up. It's going to be moving from the south to the north. Here we are at 7, where most people would be leaving their homes, and that's snow all across the entire state. And yes, no notice those darker shades of blue. That indicates the steady, moderate to heavy snowfall that will be coming down. And that continues throughout the morning. And then notice the back edge starts to work its way into Litchfield County by noon. And then the majority of it will kind of be out of here between 1 to 2 o'clock. But you have quite a few hours where if those snowfall rates are 1 to 2 inches per hour, that's when it starts to add up. So there's all these little intricate details that many people don't necessarily think of unless you're in a meteorologist's shoes. So, and here we go into tomorrow afternoon where things will start to kind of push away. We may even get a few breaks of sunshine before.
How warm is it after this thing goes through? Is it like melty warm?
You know, the temperatures tomorrow are going to be like 32 to 35.
Okay.
So that's why this makes it even more interesting. This is not a big fluff factor. Well, let's break this down a little bit more. So this is the GFS, because this is what we were talking about,
And
Darren.
when you say GFS, that's one of the
one of our computer
models, right?
It's otherwise known as the American model.
Yep.
So this is the GFS. This was this morning. This is what we call the 6Z run. There's 0, 6, 12, and 18Z runs. So there are 4 runs per day.
It's getting real deep now.
We're getting real detailed
So
here.
basically, they're putting their little snowfall totals on here that you can see. This is 10 inches, this is 9, this is 7, this is 6.
Right,
Okay.
and so this is the 12Z. This is the one that just came out during the noon show. And notice, not big changes here. But
They probably can't see the numbers, so tell them.
yeah, so this says
That puts-
13, 11, 10, 7 up
That
here.
brought it up 2-3 inches from what
Yeah.
it was on the prior run. So
Right.
calling for more.
But notice this is the 10-to-1 ratio. So that's what makes it interesting. Is so if you get those lower ratios, these numbers come down, but not huge differences in the GFS. However, look at the European from 0Z last night to 6Z this morning. Big changes with
So
the
this
European
is now
model.
we're looking at this is another computer model.
This is the Euro.
This is well, okay. This the European model is very good technology, right? Okay, so this gives us a foot in New Haven, and now that gives us 6.6
No, it gives us about 6 inches.
inches.
Yeah.
So the
So big
Euro's
difference.
dialing it down.
Euro's dialing it down with the sense that it's going to pull that low farther to the south and thus take that snow line with it. But this is what we have to work with. That's why, you know, this could be a one-off run. You know, the 0Z run may be fine. The 6Z kind of takes a jog to the south, and the 12Z may come back as robust as the previous run. So that's why we can't rely on every little run that comes out and make those dramatic shifts to our snowfall map. I say this endlessly, is that consistency is what builds confidence in the forecast. I need to see one more run to make sure this is consistent before we kind of start to dive in this direction and start to lower these totals.
So folks know, we're recording this at just after 1 in the afternoon on Monday. So the data we're looking at, that's where we are.
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
where we are. So this is where we put 4 of our computer models together: the IBM graph, the Euro, the GFS, and the NAM. The NAM is the North American model. So these are 4 of the primary models that we tend to look at. And as you can see, the graph, it's saying basically 3 to 5 inches at best. It's not as amped with this one. European has 7 to 10. GFS, we're right around, let's say 7 to 10 as well. The NAM is about 8 to 11. So, okay, a little more consistency with the 3 out of the 4. But again, this can change. This can start to drop a little bit. But then still, you probably look at this and say, well, that's still not in the 8 to 12 range. So what's going on here? Yeah, I would look at this and say, maybe we need to come down. Maybe we need to go 6 to 10
So
or
when's
6 to 12.
the next batch of meaningful data you guys get is when? What time?
The 12Z run is going, well, as you can see with the GFS already came out. The European, it will be coming out closer to about 2 o'clock. It'll start to.
More data at
Yeah.
2, and then another dump about news time, right? 5, 6 o'clock, we get some more stuff too? A different
Usually
model or
shortly
something?
after that. After we're off at 6, then we start to get the 18Z runs.
So you see what these
that
guys
come
go
out.
through. Everyone's like, well, it's going to snow or not going to snow.
Right.
It is a highly complex thing that they continue to dial in as we get closer, which we will do here again.
So here's where we are at this point. Again, this is by a little after 1 o'clock on Monday. But by the time we go on at 4 o'clock, and those newest runs come out, we may scale this back. We may drop it back to 6 to 12 inches. We may scale it back to 6 to 10. So, you know, this is just where we are right now. And if we end up keeping the 8 to 12 and you end up getting closer to 8 versus 12, still not the end of the world. Still shovelable, still plowable, same impacts. Okay, it's just 4 inches less. I mean, we're hardy New Englanders, so
That's right.
I tend not to hype and scare people.
We're rusty.
We've done this before.
Yeah. Listen, this is kind of day. Just keep an eye on TV. Keep an eye on us. The app has great stuff. Our meteorologists on social have great stuff. Just kind of be dialed in as we dial this in. We got you covered all day today and tomorrow, right?
Yep, because we may even have a few more snow chances coming up in our 8-day forecast.
Is that right?
Yeah.
When?
I'm chewing on it. Yeah, Thursday night we might get a little light snow there. That could lead to maybe a quick little dusting on the ground. More light snow possibly for Saturday. That will have minor accumulations closer to maybe the 2 to 3 inch range. So we're not quite done.
Stay tuned as we say, okay, we got it, we did it. Thank you.
You maybe learned a little something.
I hope so.
It's not as easy to be a meteorologist as people think.
It is not. It's a thankless job. We'll hope to see a newscast at 4, 5, 6, and on and on and on. So we'll see you then. We'll get you dialed in, ready to go. Okay? Have a great day.